Hello, and welcome to the Georgina Chamber of Commerce 2022 Municipal Election Debate here on Rogers TV. My name is Karen Wolf, and I will be your moderator. This broadcast is brought to you in partnership with the Georgina Chamber of Commerce and Rogers TV Georgina. During this debate, you're going to hear from 6 candidates who are looking for your vote on October the 24th to be the next mayor of Georgina. I'll be introducing our candidates in a moment, but first I want to cover a couple of housekeeping issues that we have for this debate. The order in which the candidates will be introduced and deliver an opening statement was determined with a random draw prior to this broadcast. That order is going to be a reverse for closing statements. Each candidate will be given 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute for a closing statement, and 1 minute to answer a question. We have a timekeeper here who will cue each of the candidates at the 30-second mark and the 10-second mark. If a candidate hears something that they'd like to challenge, they'll raise their hand and be acknowledged by the moderator, and that'll be before the next question. There is time for a challenge, and we could have a rebuttal if time permits. We're looking forward to a respectful and informative debate, and I'm encouraging everyone to make the most of the time we have together. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our candidates, and from left to right, is Jeffrey Cathcart. Next to him is Boris Godzinevsky. Then we have George Sheffield. Next to George is Margaret Quirk. And then we have Frank Sebo and Ralph Herman. And so let's begin with our opening remarks. And based on the draw that we just did, we're going to start with Jeffrey Cathcart's opening remarks, please.
All right. Hello, Georgina. I'd like to take a moment to thank the kind folks of Rogers TV and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, as well as the moderators and other candidates for being here. My name is Jeffrey Cathcart, and I'm a lifelong resident and business owner in beautiful Georgina. So what is real change? Real change isn't just about infrastructure, platforms, or policies. It's a feeling of camaraderie, a feeling of home, most importantly, a feeling of hope. Growing up here, we had all those feels, but lately it feels as though it's slipping away. The town has been doing the same things for far too many years, expecting different results, which is the definition of insanity. Webster's dictionary defines the word change as to become different, to undergo transformation, transition, or substitution. As we enter into our debate tonight, please listen with your hearts and give myself, Jeffrey Cathcart, the opportunity to provide the real change we're also desperately searching for. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Boris Godzinevsky with his opening statements.
Hi, my name is Boris Godzinevsky. When I ran for mayor 4 years ago, I outlined a detailed plan, which included our beaches, businesses, youth development, arts and recreation. And I criticized council and Mayor Margaret Quirk for their failings. Now, some of my concerns were addressed, most were not. Some are repeated, even though it's been 8 years. The other candidates here, I'm sure they mean well, but 4 years ago, they stood by and did nothing. Important decisions had to be made. I was there then. I'm here now. It's been 8 years of Mayor Margaret Quirk. Give me 4. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next opening statement will come from George Sheffield.
I'm George Sheffield. I'm a resident for 27 years. I own and operate Sheffield Signs. I do much work with small businesses. I guess I kind of have become a specialist in the field. And I believe that I can bring new businesses in and attract them in new ways that are fresh. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Margaret Quirk.
Hi, I'm Margaret Quirk, and I'm seeking re-election as mayor of Georgina. I want to thank both the Chamber and Rogers TV for this opportunity today. The position of mayor requires in-depth knowledge of the issues facing Georgina, the skills to deal with everything from budgets to agendas, with issues ranging from economic development, roads and recreation, and the need to listen and communicate with you, the residents of Georgina. I have 24 years' experience on Georgina Council, with 8 as mayor. I have the knowledge and the proven leadership to work with you for the future of Georgina. I've worked hard to move Georgina forward. The business park is developing as we speak, with local jobs coming to our community and much-needed commercial taxes to help balance out our current reliance on residential taxes. I know we have more work to do. I'm prepared to make the hard decisions as we deal with the 2023 budget and the impacts of the rate of inflation, higher costs, and how they impact you. My commitment to you is to continue to work hard with you and for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Frank Sebo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Frank Sebo. I've lived in Georgina now for about 25 years over in Sutton, and my family has owned and operated the Sutton General Store on High Street in Sutton for over 25 years. I've been active in the community since I've lived here, and for the past 8 years, since 2014, I've been the current Ward 4 councillor in the town of Georgina. So I have been a member of the town of Georgina Council. I've familiarized myself with the issues over the years that I've been on council, and I'm eager to bring my enthusiasm and my energy to the role of mayor. As your mayor, I will bring responsible, respectful, strong, honest leadership. So please consider voting for me as your mayor on October 24th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ralph Herman.
Thank you. My name is Ralph Herman. I want to thank Rogers and Chamber of Commerce for having this debate today. I also have been living in Georgina for 23 years. I love Georgina. It's our home. 9 years ago, I started my own barbershop. My barbershop brought me here today for reasons of speaking to local residents every single day with their concerns and frustrations with this town. When I'm mayor, I want to be your voice. Let me take us from where we are today to where we need to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our opening statements, and we're going to move into the Q&A portion of this debate. And our first question is going to go out to Boris Godzinski to be our first. We'll take this first. And the question is, what is your vision for Georgina?
Well, my vision for Georgina is the same as 4 years ago. I've grown up here. I went to the schools here. It's been 27 years. And I travel a lot around the province, and I see smaller towns with smaller budgets have more things than we do. When I walk on foot to several parks that we have, not much has changed. There's so many things that have been brought up. And resident-only parking we finally got after almost every other beach community has had it for several years. So my vision is simply to take the best and make it work in Georgina. But I also care a lot about youth development. I work with children as a volunteer, as paid staff, including in our town. I think that's very important, especially after COVID. Children's development has suffered because of that. But business and permits and bylaws, these things that can make our community function much better.
Thank you very much. Thank you. George Sheffield next, please.
Okay, well, in studying everything, I found out that 1 in 4 high school kids are dropping out, 1 in 5 actually, and I think we need to engage them more as they are the workforce of the future. There's various ways of us doing that. Seniors is an issue. We don't have enough beds. We need to build something in Sutton that can help the people in Pefferlaw and Eudora and Port Bolster. As we grow, the demographics will also grow in the senior people. And right now we're at 308 beds, I believe. The waiting list at Cedar Vale is 213, and I would like to see that change.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Quirk, if you would give us your vision for Georgina, please.
Thank you very much, Karen. Certainly the vision I have for Georgina is a place where you can work locally, that you can commute to your job, maybe by bicycle, maybe by walking, maybe a short bus ride or a short car ride. And certainly we've been working on that with the business park and developing that. The other thing is people come to Georgina, people stay in Georgina because of the lake and because of our local environment. So my vision includes maintaining the protection of Lake Simcoe, not becoming a place where urban sprawl comes to the area, but maintaining that small town feel, but with the amenities that people are looking for and people want, whether it's recreation opportunities, whether it's access to the water, and certainly helping our local business community grow and thrive. So my vision is a place where you can work, live, play, and enjoy our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sebo.
Thanks, Karen. Georgina's close to the city, but it's worlds away. I like to refer to it as the jewel of York Region and the crowning jewel of the GTA. So my vision would be to expand on that and to solidify our place where I believe it's rightfully should be as the jewel of the GTA. If you look at a map and you look at Georgina, our 52 kilometers of Lake Simcoe shoreline form the top of the crown. So, our community is made up of unique communities, and it's the people that make it great. So I will continue to work with the people of Georgina to realize the full potential of what our municipality has. And certainly Mayor Quirk has touched on some of those things, but I think that the waterfront is of paramount importance. If we were in Stouffville or Richmond Hill or Vaughan, we would not have to worry about our lakefront. But here in Georgina, we have 52 kilometers of shoreline, 3 navigable rivers, and York Region's only municipal harbor. So I want to make those things shine, and so that people will see the light of Georgina from far and wide. Thank you.
Thank you. Ralph Herron, please.
Sustainable growth is very important. Working with the fire department, EMS, and everybody that needs to be involved to make sustainable growth work. We need the police department as well. Is very, very important. They are so short-staffed. Working with small businesses is very, very important. Beachfronts, as you said, is very, very important, as it is for me to have this Georgina as beautiful as it is today. But we do need sustainable growth to level off the tax base for our children's future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So question number 2, the first person I'm going to... Oh, I'm sorry, Jeffrey. What is your vision for Georgina?
Thank you very much, Karen. I'm glad that you asked. My vision for Georgina as a lifelong resident here, I've been here for 32 years, to bring back that feeling of home. It feels as though lately it is slowly deteriorating. I own a 7-figure construction company business here that's built from the ground up. I employ not just 12 people, but I also employ 12 families. I have to make sure that those families get fed every month. That's my sole responsibility, not theirs. I brought them in to do that. They're all also local residents of Georgina. I take great pride in being able to give jobs back to the community that helps out in turn. As well as we need to take a look at the building department. I'm an expert in this field owning a construction company. The permitting process. There are systems in place with the Government of Ontario that can be implemented very quickly and fastly to streamline all of this process. Again, I'm an expert in that field. And bringing jobs to the community. As a business owner and builder, this isn't the first business I've built from the ground up. I know how to get the job done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For question number 2, I'm going to ask George Sheffield to start us off. Given that Georgina is a destination for visitors because of our Lake Simcoe shoreline, what would you propose to ensure that both visitor and resident goals are achieved?
Well, I think we need to open up the permit process for the lake to create jobs with vendors and that such. And I think I'm leaning towards the one-way street of Lake Drive. I don't know exactly how that would work out, and we would have to change it in the winter. And it would have to be in the direction of the emergency vehicles that would be coming in, because accidents happen there quite regularly. Parking is always going to be an issue, and the tourists aren't going to stop. So my advice is that we create jobs and take their money.
Thank you very much. Ms. Quirk.
Thank you. Certainly this is a topic that gets a lot of discussion, especially in the summer months when people do come up to Georgina to visit the beautiful jewel of Lake Simcoe that we have here. And I think we need to make sure that there's that balance between the residents' needs to be able to safely access the beach and their homes. And we know there's traffic congestion at times. The Waterfront Master Plan is looking at ways to deal with some of the parking issues, some of the traffic issues. We've come a long way in the last few years in terms of dealing with that and having additional measures put in place. But I think we want to make sure that we have the amenities at the parks as well, something that people can come to, whether it's vendors, whether it's food vendors, the rental of different pieces of equipment, whether it's canoes or kayaks, paddle boards, something that local residents that maybe don't live on the lake or near the lake are able to use as well. So it's a balance between the visitors and residents and striking that balance.
Thank you very much. Mr. Siebel, please.
Karen, do you mind repeating the question?
Oh, no, not at all. Given that Georgina is a destination for visitors because of our Lake Simcoe shoreline, what would you propose to ensure that both visitor and resident goals are achieved?
Thank you. Well, definitely we need to work together. That goes for members of council, that goes for higher levels of government. We need to work closely with our residents, all the stakeholders that have a stake in our future, and Lake Simcoe. But I feel strongly that we need to implore upon higher levels of government, the province and the federal government, for more funding. As I mentioned a moment ago, if we were Richmond Hill or Vaughan, we wouldn't have to worry about dealing with our lakefront and the issues associated with it, but we do. And we are probably the premier tourism destination in York Region, so I feel that York Region should help us deal with some of the failing infrastructure along our lakeshore, and we should capitalize on the fact that we have York Region's only municipal harbor, look at ways to expand it, look at ways to attract more visitors, and look at ways to satisfy the needs of our residents along the way. As Margaret said, it's a balance, and I would look forward to improving on that balance and improving on what we have. It's amazing.
Thank you very much. Ralph. I got it right, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Parking 60-40 split. I think parking for residents should be a little more than it is now. I know they have adjusted that, but I think it has to be a little more as well. I think making farmers markets and vendors and food trucks available to the beaches is utmost importance for the beaches, for the small businesses. Closing off the roads in front of DLSL to allow that access for the vendors and markets, which would be wonderful. But before that, how about fixing the bathrooms? Bathrooms need to be fixed in multiple beaches, and some beaches don't even have bathrooms. These things need to be done. People are not, how do I say this, doing what they should be doing because there are no bathrooms. That's very important. The one-way traffic on Lake Drive is an absolutely wonderful idea, and I have a plan for that as well. Unfortunately, not enough time to discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Cathcart, please.
Thank you, Karen. Could you repeat the question for me?
Certainly. Given that Georgina is a destination for visitors because of our lake shoreline, what would you propose to ensure that both visitors and residents' goals are achieved?
So first off, I know that the whole Waterfront Parks Master Plan, as well as Lake Drive North and the surrounding areas, have become a very hot topic lately. I grew up on Lake Drive North in Keswick. I know what it is like to live on Lake Drive, especially in the summer. It's a very hustle and bustle, busy place, lots of tourism. But I think first and foremost what we need to do is we need to talk to the people that have lived there for generations. Some of these families have had homes there for hundreds of years and have lived there the entire time, and we need their input. We need to speak with them to find out, what their thoughts are on this issue, as well as work with council to start implementing plans that make sense. Just some good old-fashioned common sense. We need that nowadays, and it feels like a lot of that is starting to go out the window, and a lot of, it's all about me or I. We need to work together. This is a community that we call home, and we all share for one another. And we do need to maybe think about, I'm not saying it can be done, but we do need to maybe think about, with a community as large as 50,000 people, to have our own beach. Thank you.
Thank you. Boris Gotzenevsky, please.
Well, to start, what is now Clearwater Farms, and I support that by principle, was the most expensive purchase in the town's history, and it's on a long-term lease, and it's no longer a part of the Master Waterfront Plan. DLSL is the same. for 20 years. North Gwillimbury is the same for 20 years. The answers are quite simple. Other beachfront communities have added amenities, have added infrastructure, have made it easier for tourists. It's not just about parking and sitting on the beach. And quite frankly, a lot of that just creates garbage. And in terms of residents, one-way traffic may be starting from Brule to Salvation Road if those residents approve it. Those are just one of the solutions. But honestly, it's just about having the will to invest in what we have. Because Georgina purchased nearly all of our waterfront property, and we haven't developed it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Margaret Quirk to take our next question first. What can Georgina Council do to increase the availability of affordable housing and ease the homelessness situation here in Georgina?
That's a good question, Karen. Thank you. Certainly, as mayor of Georgina, you also sit on York Regional Council, and York Regional Council has Housing York. And there's been a number of initiatives that Housing York has progressed through. There's been funding that has come through from the federal government, but there needs to be more. Certainly right now we're doing a transitional housing. Actually, there was a tour today that I missed for this event of the transitional housing up at the youth shelter on on Dalton Road. But that's a small part, and we need to do more. We need to engage the developers in the whole system of adding other units. We can't do this on our own. We need to have other levels of government commit funds, whether it's the province, the feds. We also need the developers to put into place affordable housing units, and we do work with them to make those changes. Some of the accessory apartments that are able to be built now and the additional units on people's property will also assist in the affordable housing. So we need to work together. It's a big problem.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sebo.
Thanks, Karen. Complete communities, sustainable communities are very important, and Georgina is growing. It's, I think, important for Georgina to work with, again, higher levels of government to figure out ways to provide a mix of housing options. And in order to have complete communities, there needs to be a balance of different types of housing and commercial and industrial to improve the tax base, to provide employment, and that balance is very important. So again, affordable housing is a very complex issue. It's not one that Georgina can tackle by itself, but I think working together we can come up with some creative solutions, and we definitely need to work with the developers. In order for it to work, it needs to be something that they can get their teeth into and run with, so that's critical. Once we do that, working together, I think that there's an opportunity to be creative and to come up with ways to provide more housing options for all residents of Georgina.
Thank you. Ralph Herman.
That's a very good question. It's a very difficult and sad that we need more housing. We absolutely do. But I was doing a little bit of homework. There's other townships that do this already. So we need to reach out and ask them how they implemented it for themselves. They're working with building departments, working with other people higher up, governments and everyone around us to help to do this as quickly as possible. We have a shortage of housing that we desperately need. We have over 50,000 people in Georgina. We need to act now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cathcart.
Could you repeat the question?
Of course. What can Georgina Council do to increase the availability of affordable housing and ease the homelessness situation here in Georgina?
Thank you very much, Karen. So as a developer, builder, general contractor myself, I am an expert basically in this field. What I feel needs to be done in Georgina specifically is we need to start implementing Ontario systems that are already in place, such as the building permit portal system that's used in multiple municipalities and townships all over Ontario, not just bordering ones, but we need to get that in place, because if we can expedite the building permit process, it's going to make contractors such as myself more eager to want to build in Georgina. Also, the development fees. The development fees in Georgina are very high. Now, I understand a portion of it is York Region. It's not just Georgina alone. But as a builder, again, I can build a house in a bordering municipality for a lower cost than I can in Georgina. So if we can reduce those and attract builders and developers to want to build here, that can bring down the price of a single-family home, a townhome, to attract more families and bring some jobs to the community at the same time building those homes. Thank you, Karen.
Mr. Godzinevsky.
This is a very difficult issue, and it honestly starts at the federal level, then the provincial, then the municipal. It's really about land, right? And we're at the end of the 404. So now Georgina is a high-value land market, right? But if we raise the standard of living, because what does happen is a lot of people move away because Georgina has seen more of investment properties, and I know that there's a vacant housing tax that's being discussed, and there are different levels to that. But if we raise the overall standard of living, and nobody wants to leave, then that would have an effect. On top of these permitting processes, that obviously creates more housing, and especially if there's an incline, and again, at federal provincial level, then there is an opportunity for housing prices to temporarily go down, right? But then there's public transit and all these other things that we really need to work at the federal provincial level and do what we can here to make it easier and raise the standard of living. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sheffield.
Okay, well, there's different various causes for homelessness. It runs from addiction to mental health to underemployment. So those things, there are programs that we have that can help a lot of those people. Do we have room for them? Not at this moment. But we could get developers to build smaller units rather than these giant houses that we're seeing now. There could be sets of townhouses that are in the $400,000 or $500,000 range that are starter homes for people, and they could get in. And you know, I know doesn't seem affordable because you got to have the downstroke to get in. So this would be involved with the York region and the social workers to help the homeless, like the incident at Walmart with those two poor people. And I never found out exactly what was going on there. They just sort of left, and it's going to happen more and more, and we have it behind Giant Tiger right now in Sutton.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Sebo to start us off with the next question. Describe an economic development strategy that you think would be successful in attracting employers offering good-paying jobs.
Thanks, Karen. Well, I do believe that we should be targeting, and I can't say it enough, we are home to 52 kilometers of Lake Simcoe shoreline. We have 3 navigable rivers. Lake Simcoe is on the Trent Severn waterway system, so I believe there's a huge opportunity that we've missed so far to capitalize on our close proximity to Lake Simcoe. So we should be attracting businesses that are in the marine industry. Currently, we have a number of large marinas in Georgina, and we need to support them. But I'm talking about spin-offs to the marine business. So it could be boat manufacturing, it could be boat part, warehousing and shipping. But I do believe there's a really strong opportunity here to capitalize on that aspect of what makes Georgina so amazing. So marine industry, we need to focus on them and attract them to Georgina. We're in the midst of building out our Keswick Business Park, and if we can just attract one big name marine industry, they will provide hundreds of jobs.
Thank you. Ralph Herman.
We need to bring in bigger industry, absolutely. Whether if we reach out to bigger companies, that's to come up here. But one of my biggest things are supporting the small businesses that are already here, where a lot of them have left, have shut down over COVID, unfortunately, and we need to keep them strong. By doing that, being a bigger industry would be fantastic because people will shop here, work here, and that would be great. I do think one of the things that we do need here is a hospital, a cottage hospital of sorts that will bring in a lot of doctors and nurses that could be helpful. We do need that with the growing community and the baby boomers here in Georgina. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cathcart.
Thank you, Karen. Again, I think we need to take a look at a top-down approach It starts with the municipal government, and to attract businesses to come to Georgina, such as franchises and big box stores, for example, we need to look at our development fees and the permit process. Again, as a builder, I have friends that wanted to open their franchises in Georgina. I won't name them off publicly right now on television, but they backed out and went to bordering municipalities because of the simple fact of all of the red tape, the high cost, and the slow turnaround. If somebody's going to develop and open a store, such as, use Walmart as an example, that takes a lot of money and time to put the infrastructure in and build the place. So they have to open quickly in order to start recouping costs, and it's a business. What does it need to make? Profit. So if they're not open, there's no point. They're going to leave. They're not going to come here. And in turn, the economy isn't able to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Boris Godzinevsky, please.
So many residents and so many businesses have come and gone in the last 4 years, let alone the last 8 years, again, under Margaret Quirk. And there are reasons why. Okay. Again, under Margaret Quirk, in 8 years, the property taxes have gone over 20% that they've increased in that entire period. Commercial property taxes, again, not competitive. The permitting process not competitive. What is most interesting, however, is when you're elected mayor or you work for council, you have the ability, and it's not a conflict of interest, to actively, right, to literally go and do your own research and try to get, when it comes to major corporations, to get into the town to see what will make them choose Georgina, right? So again, it's about will, right? It's about the desire to actually see that happen. So this is one of the biggest issues, because if you get the larger corporations, then the smaller businesses come and...
Thank you. Thank you very much. George Sheffield, please.
Okay, well, I probably single-handedly helped open more businesses in Georgina in the last 25 years than anybody else. And I hear the same thing over and over again. It's they don't want the town involved. Is there a way for us to get around it? And I would really like to see that change, where they actually want to talk to the town and want to see help in what they're building, because as these buildings get emptier and emptier, it gets worse and worse. I don't know if anybody saw Sutton on Saturday. It was a beautiful thing. It was jam-packed full of families, and I thought, why is this not every weekend over and over and over again? And some of them people walking up and down that street are possible business owners who are going, wow, there's an opportunity here.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Quirk.
Could you restate the
question?
question? It's been a
Sure.
little while since you.
Describe an economic development strategy that you think would be successful in attracting employers offering good-paying jobs.
Great, thank you, Karen. And certainly now we do have a number of programs through economic development. We have a development fee rebate based on the square footage of the property being built, based on the number of employees that would come. We do offer rebates for building permits, for site plans, for a number of the application fees that the town has. So we need to expand that. It takes money to make money, and it takes an investment of those dollars. And I know sometimes it can be difficult to build that into a budget. Right now we have $100,000 into that budget, and we need to expand that. We need to work with Panettones, who are the owners of the development part of the business partners you see working right now, and we need to work with them to get the employers that will come and pay those good paying jobs. So we need to outreach with them, and certainly right now our economic development does do that, but we need to expand those programs, add more dollars. If we really are serious about attracting businesses, it needs money, it needs time to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. My next question, I'm going to ask Ralph Herman to start. What does sustainable growth mean to you?
Well, sustainable growth would be leveling off the tax base. Right now, our taxes keep going up and up year after year, and right now it's very, very difficult to handle. We need more businesses here. We need to promote more businesses here. We need to grow together. We need to build on the businesses that we have here. Sustainable growth means sustainable. Like I said before, working with the police department, EMS, and the fire department are very important, because sustainable, we need their help to make that so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Cathcart, Sustainable Growth.
Thank you, Karen. I think sustainable growth is very important. We can't just have homes creating a bedroom community, but we also need to have a good mix of small business, medium-sized business, and corporations that come in to bring jobs to the community. Now, again, I'm going to repeat this over and over again, because it is a broken record that you will hear for the last 30-plus years in Georgina. The building department is, a lack of better terms, very hard to navigate, let's just say. And we need to start streamlining that process to bring in the businesses to create that diversification. And with my expertise in this field with construction for the past 20 years of my life, it can make a world of difference in that area. And really just ask yourself, is this what experience is really getting us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Godzinevsky, please.
Sustainability is creating a cycle, a high standard of living, where, again, residents do not want to leave, right? So that means adequate amount of amenities, infrastructure, services, right? Public transit, right, which you can work with private companies to do that. Schooling, so all of these things. One of the biggest stories that I hear from most businesses, actually, is the lack of commercial space. So they basically have to pay higher prices because they don't have options, or they want to expand their business, and they do not have the space. And therefore, sometimes they leave the town because of that. Right, so this is part of the sustainability, is to have a cohesive environment, right? And when you have failings and all these other things, such as a bedroom community where it's just housing, and there is not the livability aspect of it. So that's what we have to, and honestly, we've failed for the last 20 years to do that, specifically the last 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sheffield, please.
Okay, well, sustainability means everything growing at the same sort of rate, which means if we have development of 5,000 people coming in, it means adding 2 more doctors. It means making roads a little bit bigger. We can't be anti-road and be pro. We know that 90% of the people moving here are commuting, so the roads have to grow with it, as the EMS needs to grow with it, and the Pefferlaw Fire Hall was a great thing, but it all needs to go up in services at the same time, and that's what will make things sustainable.
Thank you. Ms. Quirk.
Could you restate the question again?
Of course. What does sustainable growth mean to you?
Thank you. Certainly, sustainable growth, you do want to have that balance of businesses, small businesses, large businesses, residential densities increasing. You don't want to see urban sprawl. You want to see a community that, as I said earlier, that people can work in, play in, walk to their job, walk to restaurants and amenities. It's getting that balance together. We also have to look at climate change and environmental policies as part of that sustainability, because you can put in various items, but they're not good for the community. They're not good for the environment, and we need to rethink some of our goals and our objectives, ensuring that we protect the lake, we protect our local environment, we protect our agriculture. We have a thriving agricultural community here. We need to work with them for them to be sustainable as well. So it's a number of ways to work it all together and put a plan together that is sustainable and that is balanced.
Thank you very much. Mr. Siebel.
Thank you, Karen. Well, sustainable growth, involves creating complete communities, and that means that not only do we need a mix of housing types and a mix of employment opportunities, commercial and industrial, but we also need the appropriate infrastructure in place to support all of that. And so some of the things have been mentioned here: roads, health, education, amenities for our children to enjoy, and it's very important that we, again, work with higher levels of government, because we're not going to be able to achieve sustainable communities and sustainable growth in Georgina without working in partnership with the provincial and federal governments and all other stakeholders. I think that it's doable, and as I mentioned earlier, Georgina is made up of very unique communities, and so we need to, in order for growth to be sustainable, it has to blend in with those unique communities and not threaten them. So I think it's possible, and working together with all the various folks that are involved with it, I think we can make it happen.
Thank you very much. Go
Could
on to
I
the.
have a bit of a rebuttal on one of the comments?
Of course.
The comment about our building department, and certainly I've heard the stories of people being concerned about how long it takes to get a building permit, the rules that Georgina has that nobody else has, and I have sat down with our senior staff, and they are in the midst actually of implementing some changes to the building department. They're looking at having a building inspector be rotated into the office each day. If there's not inspections required, as many, then they'll have the building inspector come in and help with that plans review. They're training application examiners to review small projects like sheds and decks and detached garages. They've got a consultant has been retained to work with the building permit plans review during peak periods, especially for new residential home construction. And an accelerated building permit process has been developed for, like I said, accessory buildings, decks, pools, demos, that type of thing.
thank you.
So they will be focusing on them to try to speed up those processes.
Mr. Gutsanevsky.
I will be brief. It's been 8 years, and I don't like these coincidences when an election cycle 30 days before voting, or maybe less, where now, after 8 years, now there's new programs, and the permitting process is going to get faster, and the staff have mixed, there's a balance. Obviously, you don't want to be too aggressive with staff, but part of it is not to defer, right? So myself, I would have more of a hands-on approach, but I think after 8 years, you can. That's my opinion on it.
Thank you very much.
Just a little rebuttal back.
I think we're going to have to move on, Margaret.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my next question, I'm going to ask Jeffrey Cathcart to start for us. Residents are getting tired of watching their taxes increase every year. What is the answer?
Thank you very much for the question, Karen. As a resident of Georgina, I do know all about the struggles of the property taxes. And I think what we need to look at is, where's our money going? We need to, again, I'm going to repeat it over and over again, we need to take a common sense approach. The stuff that you see being done and the mismanagement, where's all these tax dollars going? And if we take a look at a whole, I think we can stop relying on third-party influence, consultants, studies, again and again and again for the same things, and start capturing some of that money back to have it better allocated for different areas of improvement where it can be better used. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gutsanevsky, please.
I think Jeff made some really good points. 8 years, the tax increase compounded over that period has been more than 20% under Margaret Quirk. And there's next to nothing to show for it, okay? The MRC isn't even built yet, and I know that's part of it, and development charge will pay for it. I think residents just want to see where their taxes go. There are communities that have tax rates that are somewhat in line with ours, and the residents see where that money goes, right? And because there are more amenities, more infrastructure, that also boosts the overall standard of living, perhaps the salaries. So it's all about actually, when you compare, and in terms of our tax base, it's quite substantial, Georgina. And it is, they've never explained it in a detailed manner that I've accepted. And I do have a financial license, and I disagree with the waste, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sheffield.
Okay, well, many years ago I was asked about tinting the windows at the Rock, and it was very, very expensive. And I was in that room with a lot of people. And at the end of the conversation, I said, all these consultants and all of the designers, the builders, nobody thought that a big glass building facing south would need tinted windows. And I kind of knew back then that there was a problem. And just recently, I saw a young man watering the plants on High Street in a rainstorm, and I was going to take a picture of it, and I thought, I shouldn't embarrass that young man. Somebody sent him out to do that. And so when you take things that are small like that and then exponentially money seems to disappear when you're doing those sorts of things. So I would end that sort of style, and we'd be a little bit more organized.
Thank you. Ms. Court.
Thank you, Karen. And certainly we all know that people want to see their taxes lowered or tax increases kept to a minimum. And we have attempted to do that. Certainly the last couple of years, this year was a 0 increase for our operating. We put a 1% asset management for capital. And we all know we have a lot of aging buildings here in Georgina that need work, and the province wants us to get a plan in place. It's actually required for us to put a plan in place for all those assets. So we have tried to keep or tied the rate of the tax increase to the rate of inflation. If you want to look at changing levels of service, council can certainly do that. Many times people, in their desire to see more things, they want more services. They want to see programs expanded, but they also want to see their taxes be kept low. So we manage with trying to find efficiencies. Every year our staff review the budget, and every year we work very hard to try to keep our taxes low.
Thank you. Mr. Sebo.
Taxes. Well, first of all, I want to stress that we're all taxpayers. I myself am a taxpayer. So, one of the reasons I got on council in 2014 was because I was concerned about how my tax dollars were being spent, and yours. And so for the past 8 years, I've been an active and engaged member of Georgina Council. I've been involved in budgets for a number of years now since that time. And I've always tried to familiarize myself with the issues and concerns so that I can make common sense decisions, make informed decisions, always with an eye to getting the best bang for our buck as taxpayers. I am a taxpayer. Efficiency was mentioned. I think there are rooms for improvement. There are areas where we can improve when it comes to efficiency. I'm not going to promise that I'm going to reduce your taxes. I think taxes are a reality. We have to pay them in order to get the services that we require and that we expect. But we need to get what we pay for. So that's what I will continue to work for. Thank you.
Thank you. Ralph Herman, please.
Currently, we lack accountability for the use of tax dollars money. Too many consultants out of town, too much money spent outside of Georgina for no net gain, too much waste. The MERC, for instance, pay raises for the mayor and council, which exceed the local businesses. These are some ways we can help each other lower the taxes. Right now, the MERC, for example, we can easily get somebody to go in there and run it, lease it out. Too much money, way too much money. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Karen, can I just make a brief comment?
Sure.
And it's not related to anything that Mr. Herman said, but it is related to permits and fees. Two things I wanted to say. The first thing is, permits and fees are a fact of life, and they're not unique to Georgina. But the two things I wanted to emphasize are that, one, they're there so that the town can have some level of involvement to protect the public interest. And that's very important. Public safety and security is paramount. The second thing I wanted to mention with regards to the fees associated with permitting and licensing is that they help to cover the costs of staff time and administration. If they're not there, then the cost of development and the cost of someone applying for a permit gets put on the shoulder of all the other taxpayers, and that's not how it should work.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
This is our last question, and you only have 20 seconds to answer this question. If you received, and I'm going to ask Boris to take this first, if you received $1 million grant to use any way you wanted, what would you use it for? And I hope we're all thinking about what we'd use it for the county Georgina.
I would try to divide it as best I can, but honestly, I would like to use that for recreation, the arts. I really, it is about the children, especially after COVID, and any kind of way that we can improve the standard of living. I'm big for that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sheffield.
4 doctors.
Oh, that was short and sweet.
Yes, it was,
Okay.
yeah.
Margaret Cork.
That's a good question, Karen. $1 million. I think I'd like to get washrooms at Holmes Point. That would be one of the things, the Waterfront Master Plan and the priorities. So I'd spend half of it into the Waterfront Master Plan, Holmes Point washrooms, the other half into roads. We have a lot of roads that we need to repair.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Sebo.
Thank you, Karen. Well, if we were to get $1 million grant here in the town of Georgina, as much as I would like to use it towards our waterfront and the infrastructure that I feel is very important on our waterfront, something that's been identified over the years that I've been on council is there's a shortfall in the amount of money put towards our roads. So I would put the $1 million towards improving the roads in Georgina because infrastructure is critical.
Thank you very much. Ralph Harriman.
Oh, that's a good question. I will have to say 100%. I would like a 24-hour triage at the nurses practitioner's office, and I would also like to put money towards a hospice. We need a hospice in Georgina.
Thank you very much.
We need more than $1 million.
Mr.
Yeah,
Cathcart.
that's true.
Thank you, Karen. Quite simply put, we're faced with a doctor and nursing crisis here in Georgina. There's currently only 27 in all of Georgina, and half of those work at 2 other communities as well. I recently spoke to a nurse practitioner, and we could bring them in with that $1 million and work with them through the Georgina Health Board to give them the funding that they desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the Q&A portion of our debate. It went rather quickly, don't you think? Yeah. So now we're coming to closing statements, and we're going to reverse the order, and Mr. Ralph Harriman is going to go first.
Georgina is at a crossroads. We are stuck. We cannot stay in this spot. No growth, no investments, jobs and workers are leaving, tax dollars wasted. Most importantly, this mayor has no vision for our future. I have a vision to lead us from where we need to be, where we are now, to where we need to be. Promoting our local businesses and encouraging our entrepreneurs to be successful. To respect your hard-earned tax dollars, encouraging businesses to thrive in Georgina. We cannot stay with this experienced status quo with no accountability and no respect for our waterfront and experiencing further decline. On October 24th, it's time for a change. Vote Ralph Harriman for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sebo.
Thanks, Karen. Very quickly, I would like to thank Rogers TV and the Georgina Chamber of Commerce and yourself, Karen, as the moderator, my fellow candidates here, and those of the folks that are tuning in to be a part of the democratic process and see what's going on in their town. You know what? The future is bright. I think the future's now, and I do feel strongly that I am the right person to lead Georgina into the future. So please consider voting for me on October 24th. I will bring respectful, responsible, experienced, strong, and honest leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Court.
Thank you, and thank you again to the Chamber and Rogers TV for this, and thank you, Karen, for being moderator. I also want to acknowledge and thank all the candidates that have put their names forward in this election. It's no easy task to make the decision to run for municipal office. On October 24th, I would ask for your support and to mark your ballot for Margaret Quirk for mayor. I will continue to listen and respond to your questions and concerns, and I will continue to work on the changes that are needed to move us forward. And while there's been some good discussion today, time has been short. If you have other questions, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with you. Georgina needs stability, experience, and a proven leader as we tackle many tough issues. I have the experience, the knowledge, and the drive to continue as mayor, and I ask for your support on October 24th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. George Sheffield, please.
Well, I guess I concentrate mostly on the small businesses. They are my customers. They have been for decades. And my initial would be to be helping them and growing the areas that need to be grown. The high school dropout rate it's a big deal to me, and I would like to see that 1 in 5 go to 1 in 100 in 4 years. Because I do believe that that's our workforce in the future. Either we're going to be moving boxes or we're going to be working in offices. Good paying jobs, they don't come with moving boxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gudzinski, please.
4 years ago, after running for mayor, I applied to volunteer to be a member of the Economic Development Committee. I was denied, despite being qualified for that position. And again, it was a volunteer position. I had a lot of ideas. I'm an outsider, and they don't like outsiders. People who run the town clearly don't care about businesses, and that's a shame. And the only thing that can change that is your vote. I want to concentrate on 3 things: business, economic development overall, and standard of living, including youth development. Boris for mayor, vote better, vote Boris Gudzinski.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey Cathcart.
Thank you, Karen. My pledge to you, Georgina. If elected as your mayor, I vow to do whatever it takes. Whether it be a late-night phone call or a grand opening ribbon cutting, I'll be there. I want all 48,000 residents to know I'm here to listen, lend a hand, and take the steps needed to help improve this beautiful community we call home. But talk is not enough. I'm here to get the job done. For far too many years, there's been talk, studies, and third-party influence. We must now take action. My name is Jeffrey Cathcart, and I'm not a politician. I'm a husband, a father, a local construction business owner, and most importantly, a voice for all residents of Georgina and a beacon of hope. On October 24th, let's all come together and vote to get the job done. Vote Jeffrey Cathcart for your next mayor of Georgina. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been very impressed by the answers that you've all given to these questions. We took some time with the committee, actually, and sat down and tried to come up with questions that we thought leaders for our community should be able to answer. And again, very impressed with how you've handled these questions. But unfortunately, this is all the time we have, and I think it has gone quickly. And I want to thank you, the candidates, for your participation, and I want to thank you at home for watching. I hope this debate will help you make an informed decision on October 24th when you go to the polls. And I invite you actually to continue watching Rogers TV as we go forward, because they're going to be televising all of the debates for all of the other council positions that people are running for. I also encourage you to turn into Politically Speaking this month, when 3 former council members are going to be discussing the issues which they think are on the table for this election. There's the schedules, actually. You can go to rogerstv.com and find the schedule for the Politically Speaking this month. And I want to see you back here on October the 24th, when Rogers are going to be here and we're going to be delivering all of the local results for you. I want you to stay safe and don't forget to vote. Thank you.